How old were you when the war ended?
Ended.
Yeah, it ended.
Well, I was born in 26, and the war ended in 43,
45.
45. So, calculate.
Is that
19.
19?
Okay.
19, wow. Okay. And so how old were you, so when it started, it was 39, so
13.
13, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you didn't go to high school, right? You didn't go to school?
Well, I contracted tuberculosis, so I had to be in the sanitarium
When was that?
when I was 13.
You were 13. Oh, so, okay.
And it lasted, 1 year and a half in the sanitarium, and then another year down at the lower level, preventorium.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 2.5 years, 3 years of my life that were shot into the center of France in the mountains, because a friend of ours had an uncle who was a priest there, and we felt secure there.
And so that was Yvonne? Or that-
Yvonne, yes.
How did you know her?
My mother had a store in Juan-les-Pins, and Yvonne had been shopping there, and they had become friendly. Then Yvonne's husband was killed by the Germans, and my mother helped her a great deal at that time, particularly since at that time she just had a baby. Yvonne gave birth
Beatrice,
to
right?
No.
Beatrice.
Beatrice? I thought when
No,
Beatrice
Françoise was
from-
already born. She was already 2 or 3 years old.
I thought Beatrice was born when you were in hiding.
No, she was born there in
Oh.
Juan-les-Pins.
Okay.
And then when we went into hiding with her,
She was a baby.
she was a baby, and that's when I was taking care of her.
Are you sure that's recording, or do you want me to
It is.
turn on the tape
It's
recorder?
Do you wish you could have gone to high school? Do you wish you could have had your
I wish
education?
I had had a normal life. From day one, I wish I had not been in boarding school, not been in hiding, not been, I wish I had gone like you, go to school, go home, whatever. But I didn't have that.
But boarding school wasn't because of the war, it was because of
It-
your family
no.
circumstances.
Yes,
Right.
boarding school because my father left and my mother had to work. And she couldn't take care of us, so
Mhm.
my brother and I both went to boarding schools.
Right. What was the biggest thing you think you missed out on because you had to be in hiding?
It's such a tremendous amount. I mean, I didn't have contact with youngsters, with people my age. I didn't go to school. It was another life.
No boyfriend?
No boyfriend. No, but it was total separation from the regular life.
Okay. Do you remember when the war ended? When?
45.
Like, do you remember like where you were and like what happened?
Yes, because at that time we were still in the center of France in the country, right? And we had a choice to go back to Nice, where my family originated from, or go to Yvonne, who had been helping us in Paris. And I went to Paris because I felt very attached to the children, and I could go to school there as well as in Nice. So I went back to Paris with her.
Do you remember though the like the day that the war ended? Like what? Like
The event itself,
yeah.
yes, yes.
How did you find out?
The radio.
Oh, the radio. You had a radio.
Where were you when you heard?
Oh, we were in a country and hiding in that house. No.
So you didn't just pack up and leave.
No, first of all, we had to decide who was going to go where, because there was my grandmother, my mother, myself, Yvonne, and the two children.
It wasn't like automatic. We'll just go back to our apartment and.
No. Well, my mother and my grandmother did. They went back to Nice.
To the same apartment.
Yes. But I prefer to go to Paris with Yvonne and the children.
How did you feel when you heard the war ended? Do you remember that? Do you remember how you felt about when the war ended after spending so much time?
Well, it was some kind of a deep, very deep relief to know that now you could go and walk in the streets and not be arrested because you are Jewish, and not to be that you didn't have to fear anything anymore. So that was our main concern, besides the fact that no more soldiers would be killed, the general feeling. But our own personal concern is that now we could walk on the street and not be chased, arrested, killed, or whatever. So.
And so when you were in Paris, you took secretarial classes?
That's right.
Also?
I found your diploma.
You did?
What made you want to do that?
I didn't want to.
Oh.
I would have rather gone to the university right away, but I had the feeling I had to earn a living, and that would be more helpful. So that's what I did. And Yvonne, who was a very brilliant woman, had done just that. So she was encouraging me to do the same thing.
To get started in working in an office like this?
Yeah.
And so then what made you want to be a nurse, to change to
Well, because I was not really happy with the secretarial work. The kind of thing didn't interest me. Basically what I want to do is go to medical school. But so being a nurse was just an in-between thing, closer to that. Because you understand that to become a doctor, I would have had to go back to secondary school and gone through 3 years of secondary school at an age that was beyond that, so I could go to nursing school by passing an exam, which I did, and go into a field that was close to what I wanted. So I was not a doctor, but I was a nurse.
Are there different types of nurses? Like select?
General nursing, yeah. I did both surgical and medical.
How long did you stay in Europe after the war ended?
Well, several years.
10 years. From 45 to 55?
Yeah, something like that. With an interval in England, I spent 2 years, almost 2 years in England.
Why did you go to England?
To learn English.
Oh, okay.
And then I went to a nursing school in England.
Why did you want to learn English?
It's useful. And then I went back to Paris to do nursing and to get my diploma and all that. So, but I wanted to learn English.
And then after you got your diploma, what did you do?
Well, I stayed and worked at the hospital in Paris.
For the next?
Another year, 2 years, whatever. And then I don't remember what made me decide to come to America.
That was my next question. That was my next question. So you don't remember why you came to America?
Well, I think my stepfather was very much for that, and
he made the arrangements.
Yeah, he had a sister and a family who lived in Los Angeles, and he really encouraged me to go to America, and I wouldn't be alone in Los Angeles because he had his family there, and. They were not the warmest people. They were not really close, but it's just somebody you can talk to. Anyhow, I got a job right away at Cedars of Lebanon.
Cedars-Sinai now.
So I had no problem. As soon as I arrived, I started working.
So you came to Los Angeles first?
Yes.
And you stayed with your stepfather?
No, I didn't stay with anybody. They had rented for me, found for me a little studio apartment. And, I was by myself, within walking distance of the hospital.
That's good. Okay. And so your stepfather made the arrangements that include he paid for it also?
No.
So how did
your mother must have?
My mother helped me pay the trip,
right.
And then I started working right away.
To pay your rent.
So I paid my rent.
And then, so you left Paris, and what happened to Yvonne? She just stayed there.
Oh yeah, well Yvonne was from Paris, originally from Belgium, but she had lived in Paris most of her life, and she had her children there, and she knew people there, so...
She remarried?
Yes. She married a lawyer.
Rock? No, Israel.
No, Israel. A Jewish man. It was somehow peculiar. But,
she wasn't Jewish. That's right. I'm sorry.
And so what did you do? Just answer a bunch of questions.
How about this?
And then, this one.
Mm-hmm.
So you were able to make a living from working at the hospital.
Oh, definitely, yes.
And so how did you? Wasn't it a big change to come from you're used to living in France and your whole life? Did you realize a big kind of cultural change coming to America?
It was not traumatic at all. It was not a big shock. I had gone to England to learn the language, so I felt comfortable here. And I don't remember being in a big transition shock,
You told me you used to eat half an avocado and a piece of steak. Your meal could be a piece of steak or half an avocado or something like that.
Well, it was the first time I was on my own, and I had to decide what to eat. So
you didn't eat. Sounds like you didn't eat very much.
No, not enough.
Yeah.
I didn't have any cake. I didn't have chocolate.
So you were working at the hospital.
Yes.
So then how did you meet Stan?
Oh, yes. My cousin who lived in Toulon had cousins who lived in Los Angeles. And they gave me their address so you can get in touch with them because, they were connected. So I did call them. They lived on, I was going to say on the island, but it's...
Beverly Hills? Beverly Hills?
Yes, no, they were not in Beverly Hills. They were in a valley.
Oh, really?
They were in the valley.
Oh, before Beverly Hills?
Yeah. So they were in the valley. And
do you remember their names?
The Lassmans.
Right.
Yeah. So they invited me. I went to spend the day here and there, on the weekend. And one day 10 was there, was invited as well. I met him there, and that the reason they invited him is so that they wouldn't have to drive me back because he came from Hollywood.
How did
also.
they know Daddy?
Well, that's a good
I
question,
don't
but I don't know. That I don't know.
Because what was Johnny Lastman's business? He didn't do advertising, did he?
No, I don't remember. I don't
He
know.
wasn't in jewelry or anything.
No. It was not a business relation.
No,
No,
they met somehow.
some
They're
other
funny,
way. I
yeah.
don't know. But anyhow, I think the reason they invited him is so that he would drive me back to Hollywood. They
It
wouldn't
worked
have-
out.
Yeah,
He drove you back.
he drove me back.
And that was it for the next 56 years. He was still driving you home.
Yeah,
And that was that, huh? Just like that.
yeah.
That was fast. Well, you and Daddy were already older, too.
Oh, yeah,
In those days, that you were in your late 20s. That's
yeah.
late for marrying. So, well, that was considered, in those days, that was considered a little late for getting married, I guess.
Well, it depends on the circumstances. When you've been in hiding, you've been in different situations. You know, it's, you don't. I had no social life.
No, I'm
For
saying, in our society at that time, you both were of an age where it was already a little late, so you were both probably interested in getting married at
Well,
that point.
Danny had been married before.
No, I know, but it didn't last very long.
Whatever. I don't know how long it lasted, but he had been
Less
married.
than a year, he said.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't know. We never talked about that.
Couldn't have been very long. There were no children, so that we know of.
Fortunately, if you don't get along with somebody, you shouldn't have children.
So, you met, how long before you and Grandpa married once you met him?
Oh, several months. I don't remember exactly. I don't.
Very long.
I don't remember. I don't remember.
Were you still working as a nurse even though
Oh,
you were
yes.
when you were married?
Yes, yes.
So when did you stop?
Eventually, he asked me to help him at the office.
And then you stopped?
Well, I know you did help him in the office, but the timeline is Eric was the honeymoon baby. There wasn't a lot of time there from the time you got married that you had a baby to take
Oh,
care
really?
of. You got married in August. He was born in June.
Oh.
That's fast. That's a
Well-
honeymoon baby. So,
I didn't know you had that kind of baby.
I don't. Did you stop working before you got married?
No. I think I worked all along.
So when would you have worked in the office while you were pregnant?
I worked almost to the end, yes.
So you worked for Daddy while you were pregnant.
Yeah.
So you weren't working as a nurse while you were pregnant. You must have stopped when you got married.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, and then worked in the office.
Yeah.
And then once Eric came, you stayed home, right?
And then I went back to the office.
Well, who watched the baby?
Well, I think I had somebody. In fact, I think I had a French girl coming. Well, yeah, what was her name?
There was Delphine, but
Yeah,
there was
no,
another one
there
before
was also
Delphine.
one before that.
You should have seen the pictures of these au pairs that my grandmother sent from France. They look like models. Whenever I would look at old pictures, there'd be a very pretty girl with a beautiful dress, high heels, and a purse. And I would say, "Who's that?" And Grandmother would say, "That was the nanny." I'm like, oh my god! I never saw a nanny like that. Very funny.
But they really didn't have any intentions to work. They
No.
just wanted to,
Get the green card.
Yeah.
That's so
just
funny.
wanted to get in America.
A high heel nanny.
And my mother was more gullible than you thought she would be. But,
Yeah.
I remember the name of that first one, Delphine.
Delphine was the second one.
The second one?
You had her when I was a baby,
Oh, yeah?
so I don't know who the first one was.
I don't remember.
You said once in Woodland Hills you gave a dinner party and all the men were in the kitchen, circled around the au pair, the French maid.
Yeah. She was The first one was not that attractive, but Delphine was.
She's the one who dropped me.
Mm.
So you said she dropped me?
She
Not
was
extremely.
physically attractive, but not very competent.
Those were all my questions, but I just want to go have a few more that I've thought of though. Going back to when you were in hiding, what were the conditions like of living? What type was it? A house, a normal
Okay,
house, or
we were very fortunate because this friend of ours, whose husband was looked at the German,
Yvonne?
Yvonne, had two little children, one was a baby.
Right.
And she had the relations in the center of France, in the country.
With the priest.
One was a priest, and they secured for her a pretty nice house.
Okay.
Oh, not by today's standards, it was not such a great house, okay, it was a country house.
But it was a
It
a
was-
house.
it was a house.
Solid, yeah.
Yeah, so my grandmother, who didn't speak French, my mother and myself were able to fit in with Yvonne and her two little girls in that little house. We were together.
Oh, so your mother was with. Your
Oh, my
was-
mother was with us all along, yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I thought it was
Yeah.
different. Okay. And then was there? How did you get food?
Oh, like everybody else, you know, you get tickets and you go to the market. And being in the country, you get a little more than when you are in the city because you can go to the peasants, to the farmers, and get some vegetables and
Mhm.
potatoes, whatever.
But you said that because if you could be you might be arrested if you were walking about and they knew that you were Jewish.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So how did you get around that?
Well, I went to church on Sunday.
And everyone just thought you were.
Yeah.
Christian?
Also, Yvonne, our friend, was related to the priest there in the village. That's where she had picked up that village. And we were part of the family.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which one?
So we were much more secure there than if we had remained in Nice. Because in Nice, everybody knew we were Jewish.
Right.
Yeah.
Now try the digits. Right, so
And then
1, 5,
there was
Didn't go
something about
0,
you
3,
used to call
0.
the apartment
No,
where you
that
used to live
didn't go
because you had an aunt that would use the apartment for
that's
like to use the bath
5,
or something like that.
right? 0,
I don't know.
5.
Mother.
It's turning off.
Right, so now I hit it twice to save it.
Because there's a story about that. And
Store the
I can't
device.
I
remember.
had an
Clearly.
aunt.
Something like that.
Once.
Right. It did it
Because-
twice.
I had
So now it
one
should be working.
aunt who remained in France, but all the others were in America. Let me see.
No,
I don't think I called, you know.
What did you just press?
I tried.
First of all, we didn't really have access to a telephone.
Right.
Cable is on.
So what happened to the apartment
So why
that
is
you
it
left?
The apartment in Nice?
Yeah.
It was just closed. Nobody bothered.
Just for 6 years, 5
So it's
years.
Nobody bothered. Because when we went back, there
Okay,
was
so
no
where's the-
damage.
where are the channels?
The furniture was there. There was no problem.
Where are the channels?
Okay.
Because this was not the location, they owned the apartment. So, you know, once you lock it, nobody goes and goes.
Right.
Wait, it's on. It's the green light.
And then nursing, and then you got to America. Did you
The only
like
thing I can
America
think of
more?
Is there's
Or
two places this
did
could
you
be
like
right
America
Oh, maybe.
more or worse than?
Oh, this is a tricky question. Because you can't say you like a country more than the other. It's the people who surround you
Right.
and what you do, what you have access to, you know. So, because France is a beautiful country, and you know, if we hadn't had the war and German invasion
Go down
and
to HDMI 2.
threat to the Jews and all of that,
Okay, this one. Go back.
I
Do
would
that
have
again.
had no complaints with France. Okay, but coming to America was.
Sorry, you were saying.
America was it's a huge discovery.
Right.
It's. I mean, I have lived several years in France in a state of war, with restrictions of food, restrictions of all sorts of things, movements with you couldn't go from here to there. It was a different life. Then I come to America, it's total freedom, and the food is available. You don't need tickets, whatever. So it's it just happened that at that time there was a big change. Maybe at another time in the same century, the change wouldn't have been so drastic. But coming right after the war, it was a big change.